So I am sharing the screen.
Screen is also visible.
So is the PPT is visible? One?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yeah. Thank you. With the communication protocols. So basically, if you talk about the communication protocols which are being used for the wearable technology, are communication protocols needed for communication between your device and computer, or maybe your PDA, or maybe your mobile, because there is a memory, limited memory for wearable devices, so we cannot store all the parameters readings in the wearable devices. So it is always needed that whatever the parameters you are noted down or rather stored, so that should be transmitted to a computer, or maybe the PDA device, or maybe the mobile phones, so that the user can take a look on that, or maybe can analyze later on. So sometime we need this data for analyzing purpose, so later on the people use the machine learning AI protocols to go for the patterns and all these things. So this is one thing. So that means the communication between the device and your computer, or maybe I can call as a mobile phone, so that you have to study again. Then there may be a communication required between the your sensors. So there are two ways of communication protocols being used in a wearable device. One is onboard communication. So that means the whenever you want to interface the sensors to the your controllers, or maybe some ADCs like that. So at that time we need a traditional I2C communication, or SPI communication, one wire communication, or I2C communication. Sometime there are some proprietary communication protocols being used. Okay, so every company come up with some variation in I2C, or variation in a one wire protocol. So that to be studied and to be used. Then another communication protocols we need whenever we want to communicate with a computer, or maybe your mobile phone, smartphones, or the PDAs, or sometime we need to connect to the cloud. So at that time we need to use either wired communication, wireless communication, or human body communication. So wireless communication is more preferably used, because there is no need to connect to the device, because always the device is going to be with the consumer or with the user. So is very much reluctant to connect to the computer or the smartphone. So on the go the data should be transmitted to the your smartphone or the cloud. That's why the wireless communication is more preferably used, whereas human wired communication is special kind of the communication which uses the signal propagation through the body, and it is mainly used for the medical devices. So these are the certain wireless communication technologies being used uh, in the wearable technology. So one is a Bluetooth low energy, which is based on the Bluetooth communication, which is earlier the Bluetooth Classic was earlier communication called as now Bluetooth Classic, and the newer version of the Bluetooth is called as a Bluetooth Low Energy. So as the name indicates, it consumes the less power. Okay, and is specially designed for the a battery operated devices rather. Then comes the near field communication, so which is based on the RFID communication. RFID communication protocol was obviously the mainly used for the tracking purpose, but the same concept now they are using for payment gateways, or even for the variable devices. So, but the difference between the RFID and the near field is that the range. Okay, so we'll see that. Then comes the ANT, which is a proprietary one. So, which is again meant for the wearable device, because it is the one important thing is that this protocol is ultra low power protocol, and it is mainly for the short range. Then comes the low rate wireless personal area network, which is again standardized by the IEEE. So is LRWPAN we call as. This is mainly used in IoT communication. Okay, and this can be used for wearable devices whenever you want to connect with the cloud. Then comes the Wi-Fi. Obviously, everybody is using the Wi-Fi. Uh, Depending upon the application, how much data you want to transmit, you can choose the Wi-Fi, because the Wi-Fi considered as a low power protocol. Okay. Then the cellular GSM CDMA is again the special kind of communication protocol, which is again used for devices, not for the variable devices. But still, some of to go for tracking, like GPS tracking, all this thing. So at that time, cellular technologies. So we have to use that time. So coming to this connectivity shown, okay. So some typical examples are shown here. So when I'm talking about the wearable devices, that is smart devices, say, so there the BLE and end communication protocol is very popularly used than NFC or low rate WPAN. But slowly the people are also using the NFC and low rate WPAN for the wearable devices. Okay. So what is a BLE? So it's a wireless protocol for connecting two devices, and it is based on the which is already there. The classic Bluetooth, that the range is limited, is about only 10 meters. The range is increased here in the case of the BLE, and this communication protocol is open for everyone. Everyone can use it. Short range radio technology, and the very important thing is that is a lightweight subset of the classic Bluetooth. That means the unnecessary part of classic Bluetooth is removed in this BLE, and it is being optimized for the ultra low power. Okay, so I just shown you the coin cell here. So it says that enable the coin cell battery uses cases, because we can operate your device on the coin cell with maximum peak current of 20 milliampere, and average current is of 5 microampere whenever the data transmission goes on. Okay, it is related with the data transmission. Okay, so at the time of the data transmission, maximum consumption is of 20 milliampere. Okay, and at the on the average, it consumes only 5 ampere. Uh, so this is one important thing, that whatever the data frame is there, or the so it comes in a short package. Okay, so which reduces the transmission peak current, and also whenever you want to receive, also the receiver is there. It small chunks, and that transmitted or received that. Okay, then operates with a very signal protocol is being used. I'll show that we can use the simple statement of the range. So we can increase the range up to 150 meters in one field. That is not that much range. Not the output power is not nearly about 10 milliwatt. Okay, so maximum current is in 15 to 20 ampere. And also one topology that is called a star topology. So in contrast with the classic Bluetooth, so classic Bluetooth supports the scatternet, piconet, like that topology. Star. Then basically, if you take all these communication protocols, either it may be your Wi-Fi, it may be your ANT, it may be your low rate WPAN. All these communication protocols operates in ISM band. Has ranges from so typically it's in a 2.4 gigahertz. Sometimes the people may use 815 megahertz, like use a 2.4 gigahertz frequency. uh, we can achieve the security by introducing AES standard, encryption standard. Okay, the very important thing is that how we can mainly the broadcast connection is used for the wearable devices, smart devices. Event data model is also there. Okay, we can read write the data. So how we are going to transmit the data? I said data through meaningful parameter, because not what I'm saying in streaming, the huge data is being transmitted from one device device. So BL is not for the streaming. It has data rate up to 1 MB, but it is not optimized for the file transfer. See, remember that it's optimized for the file transfer. So you have to transmit the very limited data. Okay, sending the small chunks of the data. So that's very important. Um, so we can send. So that is the requirement of the wearable devices, because we want to transmit only limited data, and that's at the periodical interval we are sending the readings. So like that way we can transmit the data, and that is the reason that BL is more feasible for the wearable device. Data can be triggered by local events, so we can have that. And there is a structure called as the GATT architecture used for the communication. So we'll see that there are two roles on the BLE in this one. Either there are peripheral devices are there that we call as the a server. So they are very much small in nature, low power, resource constrained, and but central devices are nothing but the clients, so which has the more processing power. So clients maybe now in this case is a smartphone, okay, and the peripheral device may be your smart watch, and every time the smartwatch is sending the data to the client, so client has to access the peripheral device whenever you want to receive the data. Two roles are there: either you can work as a server, so the BLE communication is taken place between the server and client. Servers nothing but the peripheral devices, and the clients are nothing but the central devices. Okay. Uh, yeah. So when I'm saying that there are two device roles are there, either it act as a server, either it act as a client. That is dual mode, means either I can be act as a server or either I can as a client. So that is only possible in the Bluetooth Classic. Okay, and that's called as Bluetooth EDR and low energy. But in the case of BLE, some of the protocols are there in the BLE, or some stack is there, so which uses only single mode. Like for example, I'm saying that I'm using the smartwatch or the heart rate monitor. So it works in a single mode. That means it only broadcasts the data. It will not receive any commands from the client. So that's way that also reduces the um, power rather. Okay, so nowadays mostly the variable devices using the single mode operation. So this shows that how it contributes the communication. So if you look at the architecture, okay, so the architecture is very less, or rather these are nothing but my OSI layers it shows. Okay, so at the bottom it's a physical layer. So the BLE architecture is basically works with a profile. Okay, so they have created the different attribute profiles in the BLE architecture, which eases the communication. So as if you look at here, how it is implemented on your wearable devices, the physical layer, the link layer, and the direct task mode and the host control interface is being implemented in a controller. Okay, so there are special ICs are there, okay, which take care of this. Then in the host, that means to which you are going to be connect with that BLE device. So that will take care of all the security management and profile. So there we have to generate the uh, uh, data payload, and that should be and that is being transmitted to the controller. Okay, and then obviously data is visualized or processed through your sometime, or maybe some other way of user interfaces are there. It may be to your computer, it may be on your smartphone. Okay, the profiles. And so here in the BLE, this is a new feature is added. So they are defined the profiles. The various profiles are there. Okay, so suppose for example heart rate profile, so that gives the heart rate service and the device information service. If you go for the proximity profile, then that gives the information about the link loss. That means the communication loss is there, or some alert is there about that. Then the find me profile. So there are so many profiles are available, and each has certain what called standard. So how to use that. So whenever you want to transmit the data, you must have to use that protocol, or rather the format, okay, data format, and you have to transmit the data. So this is the way we can use. For example, if you look at in the diagram, so I've shown the heart rate profile, that is HRS. So they are calling as it's a measurement and is a type of notification. So that's why they are written and notify. And this is 98 is actual reading, okay, and it is for the user user information purpose. So that's why this profile is created. Like that way, the communication is taken place in the BLE. So everything is through profile services. Yeah. So the actual communication. So link layer plays very important role. Here we'll just scan the devices and it starts communication. The very important thing is that advertising. So which will if the device is there, then connection is established, and then the slave is going to transmit the data to advertising packets. So this is the way communication. So we have that. I'm not going in this link layer connection, but I'm going to further data transactions. So how the data is being transmitted from master to slave or server. Okay. So we can say that a peripheral device and the central device, that is client. So once the connection is made, master informs slave for opening the sequence and when to wake up. When the data is available at that time, it has to wake up. And all the subsequent transactions are performed in 37 data channels. So there are total 37 data channels are there. If you look at here, there are two events are there. One is a connection event and another is the advertising event. So connection event is for establishing the connection between the this thing, okay, for making the connection between the master and slave, okay, and then for sending the actual data, we need to go
Madam,
for
there
the
is
correct.
a background noise. If you can, I think, mute everybody except the user presenting. That will be quite better.
Uh, okay, I think everybody has muted now. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So all these transactions, whatever, whenever you want to transmit the data, obviously it's going to be encrypted. We using the AES standard. Okay. So advanced encryption standards is used for BLE, and if there is no data transmission is there, so at that time the master slaves goes in a deep sleep. Okay, so that we can consume less power. So in that way, the power is being atomized in a BLE. So this is very important. The advertising. Okay, so the BLE mainly works on advertising. Okay, so your peripheral device periodically transmits an advertising packet. Okay, so at that specific interval is being decided by the peripheral device, and so you can configure it. So at what time we want to transmit the packet, okay? And that device, that peripheral device, can advertise for variety of reasons. Sometimes we can advertise on the event based. Sometimes we can advertise on the event based. So both are possible. So to transmit the sign, um, there may be possible that to advertise their presence to a device wanting to connect. For example, continuously the peripheral device transmit the packet or the advertise, so that it will say that okay, this device is available, and if your application is open in your smartphone, so obviously you are going to receive the data. uh, I think most of the people are using the fitband now, and the fitband uses the BLE connectivity. So once you have installed the corresponding app on your smartphone, and whenever your device reaches near to that smartphone, you receive the data. So like that way, this advertising works in a BLE. So there are two the advertisings are there. either it's a passive type or active type. So passive is again, what you say, that it's a periodically we transmits, but in the case of the active there may be some events to be occurred sometime. Your smartphone or your client has to scan the device. At that time you have to respond to the uh, client, so that way the active mode is used. So there are details are there, so we can use the two modes. Most of the time the passive is sufficient. Yeah, so this is a way how we can have that advertising data payload and scan response payload. Scan response payload is only if a central device requests for this. For example, when you open the mobile app and suppose I'm requesting the current data from my variable device, at that time the scan response payload is there. Otherwise, the advertising data payload is used because periodically that is being transmitted. So if you look at here, so how it is going to be transmit the data every time after every certain interval, the peripheral device is sending the data to the central device. Okay, and sometime the central device is sending the request. So this is communication is called as a connection-less communication. So there is no need to make a connection. It's only one-time connection you have to make. Okay, so that's why it's called as advertisement based communication and connection based communication. So connection based communication is mainly used in a Bluetooth classic communication protocol, whereas BLE uses the connection list broadcast communication. See, it's again the important thing is that the broadcast communication, the term is a broadcast because the peripheral device is sending the data, okay, to the a central device. It's a one way communication, whereas in a connection oriented it's a two-way communication. So peripheral device, central device can talk each other, and to one central device we can have a number of peripheral devices connected, whereas in the case of advertising based, the peripheral device can broadcast to the number of central devices. Okay, so this is the simple comparison between the classic Bluetooth and the BLE. So as I mentioned, the BLE only operates in a star topology, whereas BT operates in the scatter net. The throughput is much higher than the Bluetooth classic. The only thing is that the data. So the data transmission is limited. So it's a small chunk of data ranging from 8 bytes to 47 bytes. Whereas in the case of Bluetooth Classic, it's nearly 350 bytes, 358 bytes we can transmit. The power consumption always low. Okay, in the case of the BLE, because that is meant for, that is designed for that only. Okay, the cost, BLE costing is lower compared to the classic Bluetooth. The range compared to the classic Bluetooth is higher, but it is not so much required, as if you select the BLE which is higher range, the cost is much more. So depending upon your application you can choose it. Okay, again we are also talking about the Wi-Fi also later on. So it's a simple comparison slide between the Bluetooth, then BLE and Wi-Fi. So if you look at here, with respect to the power required, so BLE can operate on the coin cell, and whereas Wi-Fi operates on the lithium ion, because the Wi-Fi requires more power whenever the data transmission is taking place. Okay. Then comes the maximum throughput. So obviously there is a limited throughput for a BLE because it's up to 1 Mbps. But when you talk about the Wi-Fi, we cannot compete with the Wi-Fi because the Wi-Fi is meant for streaming. Okay, Wi-Fi is meant for streaming, whereas BLE's application area is different and Wi-Fi application area is different. So that next is NFC, near field communication. So as I already mentioned, it based on the RFID communication. It operates on 13.56 megahertz. Data transfer rate is up to 424 kilobits per second, and it's like reader and tag communication. So we need a NFC reader and we need a tag. Okay, so obviously the reader initiate the communication and the tag will transmit the data. Okay, so there is a forum called as NFC forum who have promoted this communication, and I think we might seen the some advertisements regarding the credit card payment or debit card payment. So now they are using the NFC communication also for uh, payment gateway. And similarly now slowly this NFC also coming in a wearable devices. Okay. So what are the advantages are there? So you can setup time is very less, okay, compared to any other communication protocols. Short range distance. So obviously you just have to how the connection established. You are just to keep your device near to the reader. That's all. So the connection is going to be happen. Does not require line of sight. That's one important. Backward compatibility. That means you can use the any NFC. NFC is evolving now, so every year we can change. We can see that there are changes in the NFC protocol. Okay, and it's a better consumer experience because there is no need to swap your cards, there is no need to make connections. Automatically the connection is established and the data is being transmitted. Okay, so there are certain use cases which I mentioned. The connect electronic devices, so you can exchange the data uh, like your BLE, so we can use in wearable device now. Then access information, the people are using for the advertisements, identification cards. In foreign countries this is being used for the bus ticketing also. The NFC is also used for the bus ticketing. I think that I already mentioned that. Mobile transactions, so I already mentioned the contactless payment, we can use it for mobile ticketing also, we can use it, the NFC. How it works basically. So if you look at here, this diagram shows the initiator, that is a reader. So reader initiate the communication, and in response to that there is a tag. Okay, so this is called as a passive device and this is active device. So active device is connected to your smartphone or maybe reader like that, and active device has the various communication things, supports that Wi-Fi supports, Bluetooth supports, and GPS supports. So we can read it, the data. Obviously this tag or sticker doesn't have a power. Okay, so the cell power is generated with the electromagnetic waves being generated by the reader. So like that way the communication is established. It's very similar to the RFID. Okay, so NFC has two communication terminals. One is the initiator and one is a target device. Remember that the NFC is a one-to-one communication. Okay, so it's not one-to-many communication. So NFC devices communicate via magnetic field induction. So where two loop antennas are located within each other's near field. So if you look at here, so the reader or writer has again the antenna coil. So the power is being generated. So and the your tag or the passive device has again a magnetic field, and through that magnetic field induction, the power is being generated at the tag, and then the data transmission taken place. Okay, so the modes of operation. So one important is either there is communication between the passive uh, tag and active reader. So that we call as a the initiator provides a carrier field and the target device answers by modulating the existing field. That's the way it works in that. Whereas in the case of the active communication, both initiator and target device communicate by alternately generating their own field. So it's a two-way communication. Whereas in the case of passive communication, only one-way communication is there. Okay, so that is again capability of your device. So whether it can act as a passive communication. If you talk about the variable technology, the variable device always your tag. So it will only support the passive communication, not the active communication. If you want to go for the active communication, obviously the size is going to be bigger, the cost is also more. So I said here there are operating modes are there, reader writer mode. So we want to we want to write something into the NFC tag, or we want to read it. So that's one mode is there. Peer-to-peer mode, it is again comes under the active mode communication, and the card mode. So it appears to an external reader, so we can contextually read the data. It's mainly used for the payments and a ticketing purpose. So it's like instead of carrying the credit card or a debit card, so we are emulating that credit card, debit card smartphone. So that's the case. Means there is no need to carry your smart card. So benefits, it's a versatile because we can use for any range of application in any industry, any environment, and there is no effect on the noise because it's a near field communication. So obviously we have to keep the devices near. That's one thing. Open and standard based, so it's open to everybody to use it. Okay, so there is no need to pay any royalty. Technology enabling, so NFC facilitates the fast and simple setup of the wireless technologies. That's one thing. Inherently secure. NFC transmissions are secure due to short range communication because we are not able see the data is transmitted unless until the active tag or the your initiators start the communication, but active tag has to give the permission for the transmission. So like that way it's going to be secure. It's interoperable, so it can work on various technologies. Security ready, so obviously this is one more important feature of, obviously in every communication protocol it is taken care of that. So I'll not go in detail about this slide. Yeah, so it's a comparison between the RFID and NFC, so and even Bluetooth. Okay, the setup time is less, range is also less, usability you can use in any application. Okay, it's a human centric, easy, and initiative means the user is in a picture for communication. Okay, the next one is ANT. So I'm just going fast because already we are lagging behind, so we have a limited time. I think I have another 30 minutes to cover up. So somebody has requested about the frame format of Zigbee. Actually, it is not in the scope of this variable because I'm not. We have that, but maybe we didn't get time for that. Why? Because Zigbee is not so much used in a variable device. The BLE and this NFC and ANT is now mainly used in a variable device. So that's why I skipped that Zigbee part. ANT is a proprietary communication protocol which is being developed by the Canadian company called as Dynastream Innovations, and recently which is acquired by Garmin in 2006, which is again a Canada-based company. So they have targeted that it should be a ultra low power, and I said all these communication protocols works in ISM band and typically in a 2.4 gigahertz. Okay, so it's a short range wireless networking protocol, and their target is was the variable device only. Okay, so NT powered nodes are capable of acting as source or sinks. So that means it has a two-way communication. Either can transmit, either it can receive the data. Source and sinks means we can source means receive. We can source means transmit. Sinks means receive. Okay, ANT is primarily incorporated into sports and fitness sensors. So earlier, the Garmin has used this protocol for their devices, but later on, slowly, some other companies also using these communication protocols in their devices. It's not being standardized, but the users are increasing now. The more and more companies are using it. Semiconductor companies are also introducing the the ICs with support of ANT communication protocol. Okay, it's a peer-to-peer. It supports star topology. It supports connected star. It supports T-type topology. It also supports. It has good feature. Means if you go for the BLE, that supports only star communication protocol. Okay, topology. But here it supports a lot of the way. So it enables device to run on the coin cell battery. Again, it's low power, so you can run your device on the coin cell. Okay. It's very easy to use. Advanced networking capabilities are there in ANT. There is a multi-vendor interoperability with ANT Plus. So what mean by multi-vendor? So once I introduce the device with ANT communication or support, so we can operate with some others also. So that's way we can use this communication protocol for various devices. There are similar to the BLE, there are service profiles are there, so you can use profile various service profiles from the ANT Plus. ANT Plus is again advanced version of ANT. Okay, seamless. Then it is a very small and efficient. Means the required for this ANT communication is a very small, and that results in a low cost, and also user has more memory for implementing their own application. Suppose for example in the IC I want to implement the ANT communication protocol and the related software, so it requires a less code size. Means, okay, it supports the encryption standard, that is AES 128. Only actually in the AES there are variations at 128, 56 like that, but it supports only 128 type of the data. So this is a comparison between the OSI layer and the antenna communication layers. So if you look at the physical layer, so physical layer is based on the IEEE standard 8.15.4, which is the IEEE standard of low rate WPAN. So which again we are going to cover in the next slide. And MAC layer also there, but again if you go for the application layer, so there we need actual ANT protocol, which is again user defined. And so here we have flexibility there. Means in upper layer, like application and presentation layer, so we have flexibility how to implement the ANT. Whereas at the lower level, that is physical layer and the data link layer, so it is already there, so you have to use it only. The important feature about the ANT is that you can accommodate up to maximum 64K devices per shared channel. So that is the it means, so that many devices can connect to have a mesh network. So ANT Plus, I said, ANT is again based on ANT communication protocol. Okay, and they have a various device profiles for specific uses. You can tie this profile with a specific use, like in a BLE. Okay. The very important thing is that the why they come up with the ANT Plus, because they want to support the interoperability, so that's why they come up with that. And compared to the ANT Plus is more optimized for the power consumption, even for the cost, and latency is again minimized in the case of ANT Plus. The communication latency is minimized here, and it eases the implementation. So starting from the ANT Plus now, even the what you call as user base is increasing for the ANT Plus. Okay, there are standards, that is IEEE standard was there for the wireless standard. So out of this, we are interested in WPAN. the wireless personal area network, which is called as low rate. So the same is also used for the Zigbee. So 80.15.4 we are using it. So that called as a low rate WPAN. So under that low rate WPAN, the Zigbee comes, RFID comes, then even your what called as low power WPAN also comes, which is being used in a IoT. Okay. So low rate WPAN is the technically standard which defines the operation of low rate wireless personal network. So as I said, this is the basis. So this standard is the basis for Zigbee, then 6 low power WPAN, Thread communication protocol, Snap communication protocol, even a wireless ART, HART. So this all these communication protocols mainly used in a IoT, and nowadays they also used in a wearable devices. The basic framework conceives a 10-meter communications range with a transfer rate of 250 kilobits. So when I'm saying that low rate, what it mean by low rate? Low rate means the data transmitted is in a chunks. So we cannot transmit more than 250 kilobits per second. That's the limitation. Okay. But if you go for the Zigbee, they have improvised it. They have improvised the range and also the data rate. So depending upon whenever you want to buy a Zigbee module or Zigbee device, so you must have to check out that what is the communication range and what is the data rate it is being supported by that device, and that will decide the cost. Rather, that will decide the cost of that device. So generally, if you look at the uh, data rates being supported by the low rate WPAN is 250 kilobits per second, 40 kilobits per second. If you go, so when I'm talking WPAN, so these features or these characteristics are applicable to the Zigbee also, okay, and even for the low that called as 6 low WPAN, that also supported here. Uh, for each device, there is a unique address is there. So either we can allocate a 16-bit short address or a 64-bit extended addresses. In the case of Zigbee, we are using the 64-bit extended address, but for variable devices, the 16-bit short address is sufficient to use it. Allocation of guaranteed time slots for communication purpose, so they can use it. They mainly use the CSMA CA, that is a carrier sense multiple access with collision avoidance. Um there is always a coordinator in the case of low rate WPAN. So coordinator decide the communication. And suppose, for example, your router or your device, the end device is sending the data, and there is a collision. So that is being avoided. CA. It's a fully acknowledged protocol for transfer reliability. So whenever, every time each device has to acknowledge whenever he receives the data, he has to acknowledge that we have received the data. So it is a fully acknowledged thing. If it is, if you are not received the acknowledgement within the time frame, then for example, a coordinator wants to send the data to the end device. So coordinator will send the data, and he has to wait till acknowledgement is being transmitted by the end device. If the acknowledgement is not received in the stipulated time, then a coordinator will try for another. You will try for another trial, and you have to decide for how many times you have to try for that. Maybe 4 times, 5 times. That can be decided by the user. A low power consumption, obviously, it's energy detection is there. So its energy detection will decide the communication strength. Link quality coordinator, so the link quality will be rated because of the loss of the data. Okay, so there may be we must have to retry for number of times there. This is a simple architecture of the WPAN. the physical layer, the MAC layer, link layer, and the upper layers obviously is defined by the user. So typically this IEEE standard defines 3 layers, okay, and we have to work in that 3 layer. And as I mentioned, it works in ISM band, and most of the devices works on 2.4 gigahertz, but there are some devices which works on 915 megahertz, or sometimes it works on 868 megahertz. So either is possible. So there are 3 variants. Either we can work on 868 megahertz, 915 megahertz, or 2.4 gigahertz. And out of that, 2.4 gigahertz mostly used. So there are devices classes, as I mentioned, that how the communication is established. So there are 2 device classes are there in the low rate WPAN. That is called as a full function device, which operates in any topology, and it has a coordinate capability. Full function can talk to any devices. Okay, so there is no special permissions are required for that. So I can say that full function device is a master. Okay, in the case of the low rate device, low rate WPAN. Reduced function device, that is called as RFD. So it is, and we calling this as an end device, peer-to-peer network. So he has to give only response to the master. He cannot become a coordinator, or he cannot be a master. The FFD, the RFD device, suppose FFD device requires 10 milliampere current, 10 milliwatt of the power, but the RFD may require 6 milliwatt of the power. So that is the difference between the FFD, because FFD has to implement the complete protocol set and take care of the communication. Sleep time, what is that? Most of the time the RFD in a sleep mode. Okay, whenever the data is being transmitted, at that time only it's going to be wake up. But whereas the FFD is most of the time in a wake up state. Okay, very rarely it goes in a sleep. So depending upon that classes, so we can have, so either we can call as a network device. Okay, we can call as a coordinator or the PAN coordinator. So network device, coordinator, and PAN coordinator, all are the FFD devices, which has the which can be turned as a master for my communication. So these are being topologies which are supported by low rate WPAN. When I'm talking about the low rate WPAN, all this being applicable to ZigBee also, all this being applicable to your 6 low WPAN. It is also applicable to the wireless HART. It is also applicable to the your thread. So these are some common points we are discussing, and depending upon the your communication protocol, because I've just given you the insight about the low rate WPAN. Specifically, if you go for the ZigBee, there are some changes maybe there. Okay, some advancements are there in a low rate WPAN. Okay, so application of low rate WPAN. So we can variable devices, we can use in a motion sensors, we can use in a wireless sensor networks. Okay, we can use in a for interactive toys, we can use for monitoring the automotive device, that is tire pressures. Okay. Inventory tracking also we can implement in a building automation. Also we can use this communication protocols. So mainly this type of the communication protocols used for the wireless sensor networks, or even can call as a body network. Wi-Fi. So everybody knows the Wi-Fi because everybody using it. So there is no need to talk about much. But as far as the variable device is concerned, uh, for very limited devices we can use, because it's a power thrusty, I can say. No power is consumed when you are transmitting the data, and it is regularly needed to charge the battery, because it is meant for the streaming, it is meant for sending the huge data. So variable directly to the internet. But when I'm giving the Wi-Fi connectivity to my device, so I can directly connect to the cloud. That is one advantage there. Otherwise, now what's happening? Whenever a variable device want to transmit the data to the cloud, so first of all, he has to transmit the data to the smartphone. In the smartphone, you have to install the app, mobile app, and mobile app is communicating with the cloud. So like that way, the communication is taken place between the variable device and your internet. But if you are having the Wi-Fi capability, so we can directly talk with the internet. Okay. So it is being created by the Wi-Fi Alliance. Actually, Wi-Fi Alliances come up with this Wi-Fi standard, and later on it is being standardized by the IEEE. Okay, and they are calling as a 802.11 802.11 standard. So in that there are some categories: A standard, B standard, standard, and each one has some certain capability. Okay. So if you look at here, so compared to the OSI layer, so there are only two layers are important as far as the 80.11 is there, that is physical layer and data link layer. So that is being data link layer is divided into two: logic link control and medium access control, whereas physical is again divided into two: physical layer convergence procedure and physical medium dependent. So like that way, and up are implemented in the software part, so it's not so important. 80.11b standard, which is the simple and cost effective and runs on 2.4 gigahertz range, but limited the number of access points in range of each other to the team. Means there are limited access points. It has 11 channels and it is based on the direct sequence spread spectrum technology. So there are some differences between the 11B and then 11G. So with some security and interference is not solved in this 11.g, but range than compared to 11b. It is uses the FDM, that is frequency division multiplexing, for data transmission. 11 is there, so it's completely different from 11b and 11g. It's a flexible because multiple channels can be combined and faster throughput is achieved. We can also have more access points. Okay. Range, so range is also very less. Uh, Again, it uses a frequency division multiplexing. So what is the advantage of using the Wi-Fi? From any location you can get a signal, because only thing is Wi-Fi. And in the lockdown period, we have seen the Wi-Fi uses, because even we are going for the online lectures every time and we need a Wi-Fi connectivity. Setup cost, no cabling is required. Okay, it's a flexible, quick and easy setup is possible. It's a scalable, we can expand, and mobile access can access the network on the move. So even if we can moving, we can access the things. Okay. uh, so this is a simple comparison between all these wireless technologies. If you look at here, and then when you go for the long range and the low data rate, so we can use the GSM and GPRS. So like that way we can compare it. And just above that, in the short range and in the higher data rate, the Wi-Fi is also there. Okay, which is missing here, but Wi-Fi is there at the. So all this is about the communication protocols which are being used in a way, and whenever you want to communicate with a smartphone or computers. Okay. I think there is no need to talk about the I2C and SPI because of the short time. I'll just go through it. This I2C protocol is used for onboard communication, and it is based on the two-wire serial bus, which is developed by 19 developed by Philips in 1980. Okay, so how it works basically? So I2C has one master and number of slaves. It works in arbitrary mode because at a time master can transmit data or slave can transmit data like that way. Okay, so multi-master, multi-slave configuration is possible, but in at any given time, only one master will active. Okay, and there is no need to have a chip selection signal or arbitration. The only thing is that the each device, each slave, I2C communication as a unique address. So through that unique address, we can communicate. So what is the protocol here? So whenever you want to start the communication, you have to generate the start signal, and then you have to send the device address to whom you want to communicate. Either you want to read that slave device or write to that slave device. That should be decided. Then you have to send the address, okay, where you want to write in that slave, and then to send the data. So like, and for each and every transmission, we have to expect that the acknowledgement going to be transmitted by the receiver. So that's where we can use it. So this already I talk about that. These are the I2C signals. So we need a start signal, we need a stop signal, and we need acknowledgement. And mostly it is being implemented by the controller. So only user has to take care that when to generate the start signal, when to generate the stop signal. SPI, which is originally by the Motorola Corporation, to remove the disadvantage of I2C. That is, I2C supports only half duplex communication, but whereas SPS supports the full duplex communication, and it has handle multiple masters and slaves which are being connected to the given bus. So if you look at the structure, yeah, so this is the structure of the SPI bus. So this is the master, and when you have a multiple slaves, there is no unique address concept is there. Whenever you want to communicate with any slave, so this SS bar, that is slave select bar, should be asserted. So once suppose for example I'm using the first slave, so I must have to assert, I must have to give a low signal to the SS signal, and then the communication established between the master and the first slave. Likewise, if suppose I want to go to communicate with the second slave, then I have to make the SS bar low. Again, very important that when you are writing the program, make sure that at any given time only one slave going to be selected is required. Three-wire communication is required only there is a one-way communication. So like that way we can use either three-wire or four-wire communication. So what is the difference between the SPI and IRS? And it is meant for the onboard communication, not for the wireless. The wired one and the I2C protocol. Hardware chip selection is required in SPI. Rather, in the case of I2C, the address is required, device address is required. SPI is available in 3 or 4 wire communication, and it supports full duplex mode, whereas I2C is only requires 2 wire. The data rate, that is communication data rate, is higher than in the SPI. We can go up to 10 megahertz, whereas I2C operates maximum 3.4 or 4 megahertz. So that's the maximum speed of that. One wire communication protocol. So this needs only one wire for communication. Is again half duplex. So every time master has to initiate the communication, and it controls the communication. Slave gives a response on that. So one wire slave device has a unique, unalterable factory program 64-bit ID. So whenever you can connect. So here this is diagram how we can connect the number of one wire devices to a single pin of the controller. The important thing is that the one wire devices, uh, there's no separate pin for that, most of the pins, but some of the devices needs the external power, but sometimes the power is taken from the master only. Then comes the I2S inter IC sound. So this is also used for the communication. It is only meant for the audio devices, but nowadays this I2S is also used for some other data transmission also, not only for the audio but also you can send the data also. There are system configuration is there, so we can configure in number of modes. One is a transmitter and transmit receiver configuration. In this case, receiver is master and there is a controller. So who will decide to be data transmitted and how to be transmitted? That way, the configurations are there. Are three configurations. In one case, master be receiver act as a master, and in the third case, the controller act. So, so this is from my side. So I covered up the most of the communication protocols which is being used in a variable. If you have any doubts, we are open for the discussion. If anybody has any doubts,
You can put your doubt or question in chat window, or just unmute yourself and ask the doubt.
so as far as communication protocol is concerned, so nowadays there is easy for the developer because everything is already taken care by that device itself. For example, if we take a Nordic device, that is the NRF 5832, so everything is already there. Only thing is that you have to use APIs. Without much knowledge of the BLE, you can also implement the application. Kalyani ma'am, so
Sir, I
she will
think
go and share it.
yes,
Sir,
no,
Sir, there is one question. Are you
Yes,
getting my voice, sir?
Yes, you are
Generally, just for the different type of wireless communication, we are using Bluetooth, Zigbee, Z-Wave. Okay, there is one new technology, 6-low-PAN. Will you
Yeah,
please,
that's right. Yeah, please.
will you please explain the technology behind it? Actually, this is personality network, but what sort of communication protocol we are using in this?
Comes under the low rate WPAN. That
Yeah.
is comes under the IEEE 802.15.4.
Okay. Means
So I've just covered the
it
low
is
rate
same as
WPAN.
Zigbee. Same as Zigbee.
Same as Zigbee means it's similar to the Zigbee, not exactly
Similar,
same.
similar. Okay,
Similar.
similar.
Okay, it's based on that IEEE standard. Only thing is that, see what's happened every time, even if you take a BLE, even if you take a Bluetooth, what's happened? They have modified certain points, certain protocol layers to achieve low power. For example, if you take a Zigbee, okay, whereas 6-low PAN is meant for the low power.
Okay.